there's the battery off the M365. That's what I'm going to be using with the same BMS. Sorry, I'm not going to be using the battery because I'm going to be making another one, a bigger one, because that is a lot bigger area to fit a battery in, so I can build a bigger battery. Now, we've also got a wheel, which is a 1200 watt wheel, and that's going to fit in there if my calculations are correct, because that's 130mm dropout and that says it's 130mm. Now I don't know if it's going to fit, especially the disc, because the disc is there and the disc on this one is there right next to the bloody phase wires and everything. Why didn't they put the disc on the other side? I don't get it. That's just a bit bloody stupid. There's nothing on that side. I've got to take this apart for a few reasons. Is number one, I've got to check the wiring and make sure everything's 100% perfect. Number two, I want to put ferrofluid in it, a shitload of ferrofluid. And number three, I want to make sure that the valve is in the right position and not sticking out there. I don't get it. Why? These things, it says 1200 watts. These things are constant output. So this will pump out 1200 watts constantly. On version 3, that was a 3 kilowatt motor, and I was pumping out 18-20 kilowatts. So that's six times the amount of rated power. Oh yes, and incidentally, if you turn these upside down, you take the seat post off, it makes a perfect stand. And it puts this at the perfect angle. Now, as I've already shown you, in the manual it gives you all the wiring diagram for all the wires on here, so it's going to be a piece of piss to wire it. The battery is not going to be that easy to build, because obviously I need to cram as many batteries as I can in there, and the speed controller sadly is going to be a phase runner, because that's all I've got and I can't afford a new one. Can't afford to do anything else. These will pump out about 4.5 kilowatts anyway, so that'll be fine. I've got to take this apart before I do anything, which is going to be a bit of a challenge, I reckon. This thing is beefy. It is beefy. And where's that oil come from? Is that oil? That's oil. Tastes of oil. Oh, it's come out of the shock. Yes, I took these shocks apart. Because these are springs, literally these shock absorbers are a spring. They don't actually have any rebound or anything else like that. They are literally a spring inside, and I wanted to take them apart to find out exactly how they work. Now, there was no oil, nothing in them. They are actually something like about £600 springs. They're ridiculously heavy, so I wanted to soften the suspension up even more to make it an even smoother ride. So what I did was, there was a spacer in here, and I took the spacer out, and now it bounces. Brilliant. I'm looking for shock absorbers. I think these 140mm, although the closest you can get is 150mm. So I am looking for proper dampening shock absorbers, and it's a bit tough at the minute because they cost about 60 quid each. I ain't paying that for them because there's 4 of the bleeders. Anyway, I'm going to start by taking this apart. Right, to get that off, literally I've just give it a whack on the floor. You've got to make sure that you protect the threads. Put a bolt, the nut on the other side, and you just give it a good bloody whack, and it just pops the end off. Obviously this has never been run. It actually looks rather clean to me. Very clean build. Actually, I'll pull it out that way, shall I? Like that. Doesn't matter about the position, but if I mark that and then I put a mark on that just so as I know that comes from that side. What I want to do this, I need to put a thermistor in it as well, because it hasn't got one in it. It's got the three hall sensors on it, but there is no thermistor. I'm going to do some measurements on these before I do anything else actually. And I've just noticed some bloody shims here now. And a cracked magnet. Oh, f***ing great. No, I definitely did not do that. That was there. You can tell that was already there. There's no way have I done that. I mean, you can see there where they've actually filed it. Because evidently it was bloody catching. And also there's a piece missing and that isn't anywhere. You bastards. There's no way I did that. No way on the face of the earth, look, because it's not even set straight. And like I say, they have actually filed it. The magnets are 40 by 11 by 3mm. So I'm going to see if I can actually see if I can buy one to replace that, but honestly I don't know how the hell they come out. Whether you just knock them out or what. That is bad. Anyway, I've got to get the tire off. I'm going to have a look, see if I can get a magnet first. These are the original shock absorbers, but they're not. They're just not shock absorbers. If I take one apart, I have filled these with a bit of oil. Get some of that. Purely for lubrication. There was actually an extra spacer in here which I took out to soften the suspension up a bit because it was way too hard. As you can see, that is just a spring and nothing but. There is no shock absorption. There's no shock absorption whatsoever. If you want to get these apart, you put one end in the vise, get some pipe grips, and they are bloody tight, but they do come apart. So I lubed it up, and it does help. Everything works better when you lube it. Anyway, this is an air spring. Again, it's not a shock absorber as such. Although they do a much better job than these things, they do absorb the bumps a lot better, and they're fully adjustable via that. Literally, you can put an air pump on there. Now, these are pumped up to about 100 psi when you get them, and there's no way you can push them in. Now, these are used primarily on a single acting rear shock, rear suspension, not double like mine is. Mine's double front and back. These are generally used just for a single rear. So what you have to do is release all the pressure and then pump it back up, and I reckon around about 10 or 15 psi is going to be plenty. So I've got two of them. I've already fitted two. So I'm going to leave a link in the description for these. They come with these things which are useless. They also do another one which is a double acting, so you've got a valve on the top and the bottom. So what it does is it keeps the air piece exactly where you want it, and it also helps on rebound. These are literally just in air suspension, so when you push down on it, which you can't do, when you push down on it, it just absorbs the shock of the bump. So these, believe it or not, are half the weight of them. Absolutely half the weight. Because these are solid steel, they've got a steel spring in them and God knows what, and the aluminium is actually a lot thicker. These things, they are ridiculously light. So if you want to save a bit of weight as well, anyway, link in the description for these things. This is the battery that was in the M365, which I'm going to reclaim and recirculate, or whatever. I've got to dismantle the whole lot. Was it a 16S 4P? 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, 16S 4P with a proper BMS in it, not the shit that they've got coming out at the minute. Unbelievable. But anyway, I haven't used it for 3 months. Look at that. Those cell balancing. This isn't set to auto balance. It's just 1 millivolt difference, that's all. And it's sat there now for 3 months. It's not at a storage charge, unfortunately. So anyway, so I've got to dismantle all this. I'm going to use this BMS. I'm also, I think, because I wanted to use it anyway, I'm going to use the active balancer as well as this. I don't know why, it's just, I've got it, I might as well use it. It's the weight of this battery is lighter than the other one, and it's supposed to be the same, I think. I'm looking forward to taking the other battery apart to see exactly what they've got in there, because it's so heavy, it's unreal. I mean, this thing isn't. Anyway, I've got to take this apart. Look at that. Just look at that. I was so proud of that when I did it. See all the balancing, the load balancing, absolutely everything. It's a shame to take it apart, but I need to reclaim the batteries. Oh, work of art, absolute work of art. Well, nothing to see here. I've got no injuries that a couple of pints of claret won't actually fix at the hospital. If you're going to do this, bear in mind, number one, you're going to get through cutters. Use these side cutters, jewellery side cutters. It's safer. I wouldn't say it's easier. And also, don't expect to come off scot-free with completely no cuts whatsoever. Anyway, I've now, after I've had a lie down, I have shorted a few. I don't know where they are now. I don't know if I can actually. I've got to wash my blood. Hang on. If you're like me and you've done a proper job whereby you can't pull the nickel off, you have to cut it off. On the negative, you are 100% safe to get your cutters and just hack away. It doesn't really matter. You're not going to injure it. You're not going to set anything on fire whatsoever. But when you come to the positive side, because this piece on the outside here is the negative and that centre button is the positive. Obviously, if you start cutting into there and you lever, it's going to short the positive and the negative out. So the positive side you've got to be careful with, and what I do is, if you go in there like that, cut and lift so as it pulls it away from the negative portion, and then you go a bit further, you cut and you lift, or you lift while you're cutting, and then you can actually pull it and cut it at the same time. I've got cuts everywhere. There is no easy way of doing it, unfortunately. It all depends how the battery's been built. You know, oh, there's so many variants. So if you're looking for an easy way of doing your battery, sorry, there ain't one. Now, I've got to get all this off. I don't like pulling the tabs off. I probably could. If I lever it, I might be able to pull them off, but it bends the casings. You see, it's even started bending that now. So I don't like pulling them off. if I get my side cutters on there, and then you can cut the majority of it off, and then you get your Dremel and you cut that off. Even with no pressure on it, look, you can see it started to bow it. And you do the same on the positive thing. The buttons themselves, not these, but I have had cells where I've levered and the buttons come off, so don't do it. Anyway, that's one partly done. So I've now got to go through all these and trim them all up. And again, be careful when you're cutting on the positive side, purely because you've got the negative right by the side of it. You will short it out, and if you do short it out, you better be quick in what your decision is. Don't just throw it out the window. It's a waste of a cell. This is the wheel I'm going to be using, which is a 3 kilowatt, what's it, 60 volt 3 kilowatt. The rating on these wheels is constant power. Now the peak power can be, what, I don't know, 4 times that. So we're talking 12 kilowatts maximum output. I've still got to find a proper controller or a decent sized controller that can actually fit to get the full power out of it. Now the tyre's on backwards. I know, I think it is anyway. Yeah, the tyre is on backwards, the rotation's that way. This is the way it come from the factory. It's got to go that way because of the disc. Now the first problem that I've got is the dropout width. This is 135mm width, but I've figured out that I'm also going to have spacers on both sides here, purely to take the stress relief out of the phase leads, and also to get the disc on, to get the caliper to fit properly. So I've got to come up with a different solution. And here is the bar. This is the swing arm bar, or swinging arm bar, or whatever you want to call it. Now that goes through there like that. This is the cross brace that fits on here. Now you can see already how much I've had to splay this thing out. The way that I'm going to have to do it is, these swinging arms actually go on the inside of the frame, so I'm going to put them on the outside of the frame with a bit of clever modification of the bearings, because these are only, are they brass? I think these are brass inserts which I can't get out. I'm going to have to drive them out. What I'm going to have to do is use something like this, which I'm going to put through the centre of that. These are actually 10mm holes, and they go down to 8mm, so we've got a 1mm wall on the bushing itself. So what I'm going to do is, I've got some other stuff coming. which is 10mm down to 8mm. I'm going to make a piece wide enough for this to fit in, so as I can clamp it and not take any force on this, so this will actually be free swinging. It'll all become apparent when I've fitted it. If you short your phase wires out, short them out altogether, and then you try and turn it, that's got a lot of torque on it, a hell of a lot of torque. I mean, with them released, it's free as anything, but as soon as I short them out, I'm waiting for bits to come in. I've had to order another bar, another stainless bar that's got to be longer, and also one for the top shock, for the rear shocks. That's got to be longer. I'm also waiting for spacers and washers and God knows what to come in, so I can't really do a lot. So what I'm going to do is take the motor apart and hope that I don't void the warranty this time.